Sharanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Vishnupad, Panamangsa Parivrajakachaja Satara Sata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Divine Charavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayana Jalila Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachaja Satara Sata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhāgavatam Ki. Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, and Srila Prabhupada. Continued reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. Additional pastimes, Chapter 2. Chapter titled Opening a Temple in Los Angeles. January 6, 1968. The building at 5364 West Pico Boulevard was a small storefront in a middle-class black neighborhood of Los Angeles. With his key, Aniruddha opened the rear door, and Srila Prabhupada entered, followed by a few disciples. The room was stark. A Brijbasi print of Lord Krishna sat atop the altar, which was no more than 2 orange crates covered with an old madras. A tambura and a mridanga on end stood in one corner, and a curtain hung over the front window. Prabhupada's seat, a simple raised platform, was the only furniture. Prabhupada, dressed in saffron robes and walking with a cane, crossed the room, opened the front door, and stepped outside. Glancing up and down the street, he saw small, run-down houses. It was a quiet, out-of-the-way neighborhood, unlike the more vital locations his disciples had found in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury and Manhattan's Lower East Side. But it was a place in Los Angeles, a start. Prabhupada stepped back inside and shut the door. Aniruddha Dayananda, his wife Nandarani, and their 3-week-old daughter Chandramukhi were there, the members of the Los Angeles Temple. 3 devotees. Several other devotees who had driven down a few days earlier from San Francisco were also there and stood anxiously around Prabhupada, waiting to hear what he would say. Prabhupada looked around carefully. "All right," he said, "let us have kirtan." And picking up the mridanga, he sat down on the small platform while his disciples sat down before him on the floor. No sooner had he begun to play, however, when Janaki rushed over to him carrying the tambura. "Swamiji," she said, "you can't play the drum. You're not well enough. Play this." Her reprimand was motherly. Prabhupada was 72 and only 6 months ago had been hospitalized after a heart attack and stroke. He had only recently returned from India, where he had gone to recuperate. Naturally, his disciples were concerned about his health. "All right," Prabhupada smiled, trading instruments with Janaki, "then I will play the tambura." As Srila Prabhupada softly plucked the metal strings, his disciples clapped the 1-2-3 rhythm. Prabhupada chanted, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. With his traditional Bengali melody, he led the singing, joining with his disciples on the chorus. As Prabhupada's disciples sat earnestly chanting before him, some of them looking up to him, others singing with eyes closed, he looked at each disciple. Nervous, timid Aniruddha was there. He blushed easily, and his bespectacled eyes squinted when he smiled. Tall, lean Dayananda was there. He had a good job as a computer technician for RCA in 1968, by the way. And he was giving $200 monthly to support the temple he and his wife had started. Srila Prabhupada had been in India when Dayananda and Nandarani had moved to Los Angeles and found this little storefront. Immediately they had written to him about the new temple and the warm, sunny Los Angeles climate, which they said would be good for his health. He had expressed his eagerness to join them. I am pleased that our desire is fulfilled by the grace of Lord Krishna. Your specific duty is chant and hear the transcendental name of the Lord. Read some passages from my English version of the Srimad Bhāgavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Gita Upanishad, and explain them as far as possible, as you have heard from me. Any devotee who has developed genuine love for Krishna can also explain the truth about Krishna, because Krishna helps such sincere devotee seated in his heart. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Where are we reading? 331:20. It's always helpful when the bookmarks go back in place, by the way. 331:20. Reading from Srimad Bhāgavatam, 3rd Canto, 31st chapter, text 20, chapter titled The Movements of the Living Entities. Soham vasanapi vibho bahudukha vasam. Soham vasanapi vibho bahudukha vasam. Garbhana nirjagamise barhe andakupe. Garbhana nirjagamise barhe andakupe. Yatropayatam upasarpati deva maya. Yatropayatam upasarpati deva maya. Mithya materia anusangshiti chakrametad. Mithya materia anusangshiti chakrametad. Please chant. Sohang vasanapi vibho bahudukha vasam. Garbhana nirjagamise bar andakupe. Yatropayatam upasarpati deva maya. Mithya material anusangshruti chakrameta. Vasan, living, api, although, vibho, O Lord, bahudukha, with many miseries, vasam, in a condition, Garbhat, from the abdomen, Na, not, Nirjigamise, I wish to depart, Bahi, outside, Andakupe, in the blind well, Yatra, where, Upayatam, one who goes there, Upasarpati, she captures, Deva Maya, the external energy of the Lord, Mithya, false, Mati, identification, Yat, which, Maya, Anu, according to, Sangsriti, of continued birth and death, Chakram, cycle, Etat, this. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, Sri Shivada Govinda Dev Ki Jai, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy, called Deva Maya, at once captures the newly born child, and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death, begins. Please repeat. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy, called Deva Maya, at once captures the newly born child, and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death, begins. Purport. They used to do that in Prabhupada's classes too. As long as the child is within the womb of his mother, he is in a very precarious and horrible condition of life. But the benefit is that he revives pure consciousness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and prays for deliverance. But once he is outside the abdomen, when a child is born, Maya, or the illusory energy, is so strong that he is immediately overpowered into considering his body to be his self. Maya means illusion, or that which is actually not. In the material world, everyone is identifying with his body. This false egoistic consciousness of I am this body at once develops after the child comes out of the womb. The mother and other relatives are awaiting the child, and as soon as he is born, the mother feeds him, and everyone takes care of him. The living entity soon forgets his position and becomes entangled in bodily relationships. The entire material existence is entanglement in his bodily conception of life. Real knowledge means to develop the consciousness of, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Real knowledge entails renunciation, or non-acceptance of this body as the self. By the influence of Maya, the external energy, one forgets everything just after birth. Therefore, the child is praying that he prefers to remain within the womb rather than come out. It is said that Sukadeva Goswami, on this consideration, remained for 16 years within the womb of his mother. He did not want to be entangled in false bodily identification. After cultivating such knowledge within the womb of his mother, he came out at the end of 16 years and immediately left home so that he might not be captured by the influence of Maya. The influence of Maya is also explained in Bhagavad Gita as insurmountable. But insurmountable Maya can be overcome simply by Krishna consciousness. That is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Mameviye prapadyante mayam etang tarantite. Whoever surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna can get out of this false conception of life. By the influence of Maya only, one forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna and identifies himself with his body and the byproducts of the body, namely wife, children, society, friendship, and love. Thus he becomes a victim of the influence of Maya, and his materialistic life of continued birth and death becomes still more stringent. Om Jnana Tamrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmlatin Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Diratamaham. So this verse has that famous blind well, the Griyam Antakupam. It's not just a blind well. Everyone knows what a blind well is, right? An abandoned well in a field is sometimes covered by long grass that it can't be seen. That doesn't mean that the well has eyes and cannot see. The well, blind well, means you cannot see it. And so you're walking through the field casually, observing the wonders of nature and the beautiful flowers and the chirping birds, and all of a sudden, boom, down into the dark well. And from this dark well, there's very little that can be done, especially if you're by yourself. So the first rule is never be by yourself. Always have a buddy. In the military, they call it the buddy system. So everyone is protected, at least. Someone might say, hey, look out. There's a depression there. Doesn't look like part of the natural terrain. Let's walk around it. So 2 sets of eyes, 2 brains. Everyone always says it. 2 heads are better than 1. So in spiritual life also, there's a great necessity to make friends, to have a buddy. And this is encapsulated in the nectar instruction, Dadati Pratigriya, Nati Guya Makyati Prichite. You can't reciprocate with yourself. It's an impossibility, unless you have a split personality. Of course, there are such things. I know that there's some people that have multiple personalities. So maybe they're going to try to reciprocate with themselves and take sides. We even have people who are Das and Dasi in the same body. Right? This is quite humorous from a Vedic perspective. No one can understand how such illusion befalls a living entity. But it's easier to understand because when one comes out of the womb, he immediately identifies with the body. And gradually this entanglement, and so we understand that Maya means this misidentification of the body with the self. And compounding this Maya is the family relationships. One is thinking, so there's that Matirna Krishna Parataksvatova Mito Vipadyeti Grihavritanam Adanta Gobir Vishyatam Tamishram Punak Punaschavata Chavanadam. So very difficult to get out of this. Just like if you're in this blind well and you don't have a buddy, you have to wait for somebody to come by and throw down a rope to pull you out. So we're always hoping for that good friend. In the material world, many times we were discussing yesterday, I was with Agni Dev, when we were going to the temple in the early days in Henry Street, you go together, you meet people who are going to the temple and you become friends with them. And one devotee, it was Bhakta, we're all Bhakta Errol. So everyone was going to the temple and everyone was saying, yes, we're going to join the temple at some point. And then everyone joined the temple and Bhakta Errol disappeared. And 20 years later, he reappeared after he had joined the military. We had joined the temple, and he had joined the military. And he missed the opportunity. He had seen Prabhupada, but he missed the opportunity to take initiation. So it was he says he kicks himself every day for the lost opportunity. So one should be very mindful how these opportunities present themselves and not take the chance or the risk that the opportunity to perfect the human life will be again squandered. Now we don't know, but it appears from this purport that this full consciousness is available only in the human fetus. Although the spirit soul is in the body of 8,400,000 species of life, he doesn't get this opportunity in the pig life. Pig life, the gestational cycle is much shorter. Of course, in the whale, it's much longer. So who knows what's happening in those 3 years, what's going on in the living entity. Where is he? Because his mind, his intelligence, and his ego are still there from his previous birth. But in the animal species, your previous birth was an animal, for the most part. So except if you were coming from a cow, a tiger, and an ape. Those are the 3 gateways into the human form of life. So there's some possibility that there's some realization, but it's not confirmed here. But nevertheless, the concept, the idea is the same, is that the main entanglement, the feature that catches everyone in the material world is this, I am this body, and all of these people surrounding me, they are my friends, my relatives, or even my enemies. But all of this is based on the bodily concept. Prabhupada was giving that lecture that we're fighting simply because someone is thinking he's American, someone is thinking he's Russian, and therefore there's a fight. But everyone is spirit soul. So what is the point? So all of these wars, everything, all conflict is all based on misidentification of the body with the self. And so liberation means that one is free from this misidentification. That is, it doesn't mean all of a sudden I have 4 arms. That's not liberation. Mukti means freedom from the bodily concept of life. Atma Tattva Gyan. This is the science of self-realization. Doesn't mean that I realize I'm something else. No, I realize that I'm spirit soul. And what is my duty? And what did Dhruva Maharaj say? Mother Janaki mentioned yesterday, Swamin Kritata Smi Varam Nayache. This Kritata means that everything related to artha, economic development, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, is completely fulfilled. I don't need anything. I thought I needed something. But then seeing you, I realized, no, there's nothing more to be had. When one comes in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the conclusion, the realization, the emotion, everything that comes at that point should be full satisfaction. He doesn't need anything else. A person can view, sometimes when I walk down in a restaurant to help out in the morning, for some reason there's a food show on the network before they switch to some Krishna conscious thing. I don't know, maybe it's stuck on the restaurant network or something. But they're all cooking, they're all eating these abominable, it's inconceivable. What Prabhupada said when he was on the plane, he said he even saw some Indians eating the intestines of a hog. Because that's a sausage. Everyone knows how they make sausage. Take everything else that's left, that's unidentifiable, they mash it up and put it through a grinder. And then they take the intestines, and they shove all this stuff in the intestines, and they spin it around and make little knots in between. And that's a sausage. Eating the intestines of a hog, and Prabhupada said. And he said, I even saw some Indians eating this on the plane. So this is gross ignorance. And people say, what does that say? Ignorance is bliss. Right? So they're watching these restaurant networks for what? To get some vicarious pleasure, to see, oh yes, maybe I'll learn to cook that. And then they become hungry, and then they go and they satisfy their senses. But it's the same thing with every object of the sense and every sense and its feature, which is why, things like pornography are so deadly. Because it captures you. And once captured like that, what happens? How do they capture the elephant? Prabhupada said, a big animal. Same thing, same concept, the blind well. They lure him to a big pit covered by, grass. They use some woven bamboo, throw some grass on top, and they have a trained she elephant who walks right past the trap and the big elephant drops right in. And then he's captured. He can't get out. He doesn't have a buddy who's going to lift him up out of the well. That would be interesting. Although they have some sentiment. They'll stand around braying, calling for other elephants, but still, nobody can help them. Elephants can't help the other elephant. So that's the same thing with Matirna Krishna. It says, not even by joint conference can one escape the pitfalls of this misidentification of the body with the self. And again, he falls down into chewing the chewed. So we have to learn from the Srimad Bhāgavatam. I can't remember my last life. I don't remember what I was doing, essentially. But from the Bhāgavatam, we understand we did exactly the same thing. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. There's nothing changing. Doesn't matter what body you were in. Anamoy, pranamoy, gyanamoy. It's all the same. But only in the human form of life do you get gyanamoy and vijnanamoy. Otherwise, sometimes you see in the beginning stages of devotional service, everyone is satisfying his senses. Agnidev Prabhu used to cook the most delicious halava. The devotees used to dream of his halava. I can confirm that. But that was Krishna Prasadam. And that was a substitute for what we were accustomed to dream of. So even in Krishna consciousness, even in the beginning stages, you get some benefit of dreaming about prasadam instead of dreaming about some nonsense. So everything in Krishna consciousness is so wonderful because it immediately replaces all of our so-called attractions to the material world with substitute arrangements for spiritual items, spiritual attraction. Everyone wants to have a friend, and who is a better friend than Krishna, the spiritual master, the devotees? Total satisfaction, no need. Does anyone feel like he needs to continue some friendly relationship outside? No, we do it out of necessity sometimes. We want to maybe bring that person closer to Krishna consciousness. Although there might be some diplomatic situation, some professional relationship from the past, same thing, you want to maintain it just for whatever reason. If you're no longer a grahastha, it doesn't matter, you don't need it anymore. My LinkedIn page pops every once in a while and there's 50,000 notifications because I'm not responding. I don't need to be there. But still people are out there. Everyone's still looking for a job. Everyone's still trying to get ahead. Everyone's still trying to get their certification, their continuing education credits. Still trying to keep it up. Still chewing the chewed. But it's at a certain point you realize, for what do I need this? If I have everything in Krishna consciousness, what do I need outside of Krishna consciousness? I have good association. I have everything you could want and more. We have Krishna. Even if you substituted everything, someone could say, well, we have a nice place to live and we have a nice car to drive. It doesn't match item for item what we have in Krishna consciousness. It just may seem that way. So we have to learn how to become content within our minds. How to satisfy that urge, that vacha vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udarapasa vegam. It's not just the items of eating and things like that. No, it's all those urges. Right? I mean, what is, the straight line that Prabhupada describes, the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. These things are not just the gross bodily points that require satisfaction. These things expand. How do they sell things in the material world? Everything is sold by sex. They don't just sell a bottle of wine, they sell a sexy woman holding a bottle of wine. Or they sell a car with a beautiful woman sitting behind the wheel. Because they're selling that if you get this, you're going to become the object of somebody's sex desire. That's what they're selling. And so this is the That's why when you control the senses, you become immune to these things. This is the real vaccination, not some artificially contrived, whatever you want to call it, genetically modified garbage. All right? The point is that we have to become immune to Maya. And the only way to become immune to Maya is through the chanting of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because automatically then, one is on the spiritual platform. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Everything is there in the holy name. Krishna's holy name is complete. So in that, one can find all the satisfaction. There's no lack in Krishna consciousness. Only the perception based on my vestigial remnants of my material consciousness, that I think I still need something else. So this is the danger, is not to allow those remnants, just like if a small scratch is not attended to properly, and you start to scratch it, and it becomes red, and then it becomes infected. It was just a small little thing, but you couldn't ignore it. And therefore it became inflamed again. So this inflammation is this is the nature, the burning nature of the material world. So, first thing, samsara davanalita loka. Spiritual master brings that rain of mercy. Put out the blazing fire of material existence. But you can't keep scratching it. You have to tolerate. Dhiras tatra namuyate. You have to. The first thing in the morning, brahmachari life, what does it mean? It means cold shower. Why? Why cold shower? Why not hot shower? Because it's indulgence. You're thinking of the body, I have to have a hot shower. Why? The yogis in the Himalayas, they're immersing themselves up to their neck in ice cold water. Great benefit. Now there are people in the material world doing the same thing. Famous. The Iceman. Everyone know the Iceman? The Dutch Wim Hof. You can cure almost anything by stimulating the body's autoimmune system to heal itself. But people don't know the secret anymore. The yogis didn't have a family physician next door on the next mountain to go to. No, they did what they had to do. What was there? Glacial springs, immersed themselves, living for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. We think, what is that? Anyway, without the realization of the benefits, then one continues to ignore the treatment. But gradually, once the realization is there, then he thinks, how did I live without this? So it's a great opportunity to live in the ashram, to experiment with those aspects of austerity which I can internalize, which will serve me for the next 50 years or so in spiritual life. Because you have, just like, why do people go to a gym? They go to a gym to work out, to build bodily strength. The ashram is to build spiritual strength. But you have to follow the routine. Just like in a gym, you have a circuit. You go around from one stage to another. You got your legs, your arms, your chest, whatever. Everything is there. So we have a circuit. Get up in the morning, you rise early, get into the shower, get that first shock of the day to wake up the nervous system. That's what it does. You have to get the whole thing going. And then you can function in clear consciousness, without any fog left from the previous 3, 4, 6 hours of ignorance. Because that's what sleep is. Sleep is the mode of ignorance. So that's why when we rise up, we immediately pay our obeisances, chant the name of the deity. Wake up. So ashram life is very special. We're very fortunate. If one is not thinking every day how fortunate he is, then gradually he will think, maybe I should give this up. If he doesn't see that this is Swamin Kritato, Varam Nayache, that this is the most wonderful benefit that Dhruva Maharaj was explaining to us, then eventually he will find another benefit. Because what is it? Prabhupada said, unlimited desires are there from material existence. Unlimited desires. And they'll have to be fulfilled spiritually or materially. And so if you don't satisfy them within the association of devotees, then you will have to satisfy them outside the association of devotees. And sometimes that association is as close as your phone. Doesn't take much to get into the wrong, real, very dangerous situation. Maya is right there. Everyone's got Maya in his pocket. So he has to be very careful. All of a sudden it jumps out. Even during japa, sometimes you see, all of a sudden, here comes the phone, and there it is for 20 minutes. You see the devotee sitting like this. What happened? Technically, we have nothing more important. There are exceptions, Especially at Rath Yatra time, you get an important text message from someone that can't be ignored. It happens. But it should take only the time necessary to respond. That's it. Don't follow those other notifications. Ignore them. Just deal with the task at hand and finished. Back to japa. Back to our real... taking advantage of Brahma Muhurta hour is not just something that was made up. The Brahma Muhurta hour is since time immemorial. Astrologically, astronomically, gives us a certain benefit. Those rounds chanted at that time, far superior to any rounds chanted any other time during the day. Anyone who's doing this regularly knows that. He feels that effect. He feels that strength, that preparation, that ability to take on whatever the day wants to bring. He's not worried. He's put on his armor, his kavacha, the holy name. That's his shield. Everything is going to bounce off it, bulletproof. And so Prabhupada gave us these little hints, all wrapped up into a nice lifestyle. And so we have to take advantage of it. If we don't take advantage of it here, when are we going to do it? All right, if you don't take advantage of it now, when you're 50, 60 plus years old, and you think, okay, what am I doing with my life? I fulfilled my family obligations. What do I do now? Or do I just sit back and relax, enjoy my golden years? What about my obligation to the spiritual master? What about that vow I took? And what about that debt? Right? In the material world, if you have a debt, what happens? They call the collection agency on you. They'll garnish your wages. Same thing happens. Maya will take you out of this body and put you into another body. So this debt has to be repaid. If not now, you have to figure it out later on. Hopefully you'll have the opportunity. And if you're praying and you're chanting, then Krishna will allow you to take up exactly where you left off. Yeah, it's a big deal. Family life is not a joke. One has to be prepared for 25 years of non-stop working like a mudha. All right? So everyone who wants to be a grahastha, that's okay, as long as you have your eyes open. Don't think that this is going to be like some bed of roses. No. The most difficult thing you'll do in life is to take up this path. And there's benefit. One gets to, try to put into practice whatever he's learned in Krishna consciousness and try to raise the children. Prabhupada said, very important to raise the children for the first 10 years in a completely Krishna conscious environment, as much as possible. So whatever they learn in the first 10 years, they carry with them the rest of their lives. Even it may not seem so. And we've seen that. But don't worry about that. So you do what you have to do to the extent that you can, to the best of your ability. That's how you satisfy everyone. Krishna, the demigods, the forefathers. Everyone is satisfied. You do the best that you can do. So anyway, we're back to taking birth again in this material world, here in the womb. Sukadeva Goswami postponed it for 16 years. Can you imagine that? He had such Shakti. It's not that anybody else. Once the mother goes into labor, by force, the child is pushed out. Nothing could stop that. But somehow or other, he was able to prevent that from happening. So he had some mystic power even within the womb. He was such a great yogi from a previous life. It's not possible in general. So somehow or other, this is just an example. It's not, we won't see this again outside the pages of the Srimad Bhāgavatam. These things won't happen. But the fact that it was such that the potential for Maya was so strong, and he was so adamant that he would not fall into it, he was able to restrain. And even when he came out, when he could no longer remain, he got an eviction notice, I guess. That you must leave. When he came out, he immediately left home. Because he was 16, he wasn't an infant, he could just take off. Left home. Didn't care about the entreaties from his parents. Where are you going? Why are you going? Oh, my dear son, don't leave. People say that at the time of death also. They're crying over their relatives, telling them not to leave. There's another futility. What can we do? But this is due to the bodily concept of life, that we think, oh, please don't leave. No. So we should become strong for our benefit and the benefit of anyone we come in close contact with. You have to develop this strength in order to take care of yourself, take care of the family, take care of society, take care of the nation, take care of the mission. You have to be strong in every respect. You have to work on this. It doesn't happen accidentally, or if someone decides, well, I'm going to stop chanting my rounds and see what happens. Okay? Let me see how long the effect can continue. Right? I know some devotees in the early days, they thought every action in Vrindavan gets 10,000 times the benefit. So I'm just going to chant for a few months here, and I won't have to chant for a few years. Yeah, some people, they're thinking like that. I don't even, matter of fact, they're thinking, I don't have to chant anything. I'm in Vrindavan. I'm in the spiritual world. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to come to Mangalarati. Don't have to chant my round. Don't have to do service. I'm in the spiritual world. But immediately those individuals get the full effect of Maya. Because in Vrindavan, every insignificant transgression also has 10,000 times the effect. So when your mind is thinking about something that it's not supposed to think of, we're not responsible for what happens in our mind in Kali Yuga. In other ages, you're responsible. Even if you think about illicit sex, that's a sin in other ages. And when we mean sin, it means you're going to, that Chitragupta at the time of death is going to say, remember when you were thinking like this? Okay, that's 1,000 births in Kumbhipaka. 10,000 years in Kumbhipaka. Everyone knows where Kumbhipaka is? No one's read the 5th canto yet? You got to read the hellish planets, come on. What happens in Kumbhipaka, Hadai? It's not in here. There's so many hells, you get them mixed up. There's that one where you swim through an ocean of stool and pus and urine. You have to live in that for thousands of births. Who can imagine? That's hell. You know, there's so many different hells like that. And it's all taking place on a platform. It's a subtle situation. You're in your subtle body. You're not in your gross body. But the pain, the suffering, the torture is all the same. It's like in a dream, one can have fear, anxiety, all these things. And they're genuine. If someone is scared to death in his dream, he can die. He can have a heart attack. It happens all the time. They were scared to death in their dream and they died. People have nightmares. So going to the hellish planets is an unending nightmare. Unending nightmare. So everyone should be forewarned. The Bhāgavatam is telling us you have no excuse after reading the Bhāgavatam. After reading the first 9 cantos, it says you're self-realized. And what does that self-realized mean? It means we understand that the nature of the absolute truth. And that what is my duty? Dharma sutustata pungsam vishvaksena kataziyat nodpadayat yadiratim shama eva hi kevalam. Everything else is useless waste of time. Useless waste of time. But you have to be convinced of that. Otherwise, every chance you'll go away. There's every chance. And just like that blinking light up on the doorbell, that indicates someone is trying to get in. Someone should answer the door. So in any case, today is a glorious day, first day of Lord Jagannath's permanent presence in Radha Govinda Mandir after 42 years. And as you pass by the museum, you take note that there's a plaque that's now front and center in the window. And that plaque says, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Founder Acharya Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, established 1966. So that plaque used to adorn the building at 340 West 55th Street. And Maheshwar was given to Maheshwar by Puru Das, who pulled it off the building as we were leaving and kept it. But there was no place to display it, so he didn't take care of it. And Maheshwar Prabhu kindly took the plaque to a professional restoration specialist who completely removed all the tarnish, polished it, painted it, and professionally lacquered it. So now it doesn't we used to polish it every day. Now it doesn't require any attention, and it now will eventually fix it to the front of this building. Because essentially this is the continuity, the continuation of Radha Govinda's Leela and legacy. But it's a beautiful plaque, so it's right there in the window of the museum. Take a look. Any questions, comments? There was one guy who said he remembered being in the womb on TV. Someone told me, he said, this guy said he remembers being in the womb. I said, oh, really? What was his name? Just some karmi guy. But somehow or other, I should see Prabhu Vishnu's general manager thought, I have to tell Mukunda Ashram the door closes too fast. We have to slow it down. Somebody could get hurt. So in any case, yes, loudly.
Sometimes I despair seeing the degradation of the material world and the things that we held as good as when I came. And sometimes I say, at least they are doing a little thing, they're holding it up together. Because you saying it's so degraded right now, and material civilization doesn't work, living. But they're holding it together so we can do all the tuition. Is that a good attitude?
For 9,500 more years, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, it would have already deteriorated. Kali Yuga doesn't come in like a needle.
Then we may not get a chance to even find somebody who will accept what we are saying.
See these books that are being packed? All it takes is one word from the lips of the Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastra Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Lava Matra, one moment's association. So yes, it's not by our association, but by passing out these books. One moment's association with these books is the same as our opportunity for association with the pure devotee when he was present on the planet. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. A Vaishnav dies to live, and living spreads the holy name around. So everything is there. So we can serve in separation. Prabhupada described that this service of separation is a higher level of emotional attachment, vipralamba. And we see that it's described that way. It's not that we artificially jump to that platform and go looking for the gopis out on Skimmerhorn Street or looking for Krishna out on Skimmerhorn Street. No. If you see someone doing that, knock them over the head and drag them back inside. Call 911. Ambulance needs to come. Take them up to Bellevue. You know, such things can be there due to illusion. So we have a very simple routine. Someone is thinking, oh, I don't know, how can I last for 50 years? Ask Pancharatna. How do we last for 50 years?
The holy name.
The holy name. And prasadam. And association with devotees. And association with the deities. Yes, all these things. That's all the devotee needs. Yeah. So we have everything that we need. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Everything is there. And the Goswamis have written about it and sung about it and left those poems behind for us to meditate on. And so actually, we have everything. Just that we don't always understand how to access it. And so therefore the association of devotees is so important to hear and chant together, to have that association that prevents Maya, just like a phalanx. Everybody know what a phalanx is? Watching movies, playing video games. A phalanx is a row, not just one row, a row upon row upon row of soldiers. And they act as a defense to penetrate the first level, the second level, the third level. So you have this phalanx. We have the holy name. We have Prabhupada's books. We have the association of our God brothers. We have the temple itself. We have everything that's there. And for Maya to penetrate through all those things, we have to physically give her a path. Otherwise, she can't really get in. You know, only when we open our minds to Maya does she come in. Otherwise, one can, in a second, he can convert that tendency to think about Maya into thinking about Krishna. Instantaneously. Why we have this opportunity to have beautiful darshan of the Lord? So we can see their faces present before us at every moment. Every time there's a temptation. And the material world is filled with temptations. You cannot go out on the street without temptation. Because Maya is there. That's what Maya is. The attraction between men and women. So when you see this form of a woman, you have to think, there's nothing more beautiful than the form of Srimati Radharani. Nothing more beautiful. If one cannot remember the face of the deity, something is troubling him spiritually. And he needs to clear that out. He needs to be able to remember their lordship's beautiful faces. Because that will save him. Not just now, but at the time of death. All these temptations are just substitutes for the time of death. Right? There was that story with Akbar and Birbal. right? That Birbal was, he's the court, every court, they used to call them jesters in the Middle Kingdom, in Middle Ages, but they weren't jesters. The king had to have somebody he could joke with. You couldn't just joke with the king, come off the street and crack jokes, you lose your head. So they had someone that they would tolerate, right? The Prabhu used to tell all these jokes. And Prabhu, at one time the king asked Birbal, said, "What's the difference between you and a fool?" And Birbal walked 3 paces and said, 3 feet. Walked to the king's throne. Said 3 feet. Right? The difference between me and a fool is 3 feet, sir. So he's calling the king a fool, but the king had to laugh. Because that's, what he kept this guy around for. Right? And then one time he said, what at the time of death, what's going on with the person? What are the changes? And Birbal said, no, up until the time of death, he's still exercising all of his material desires. Every single one. Especially this sex attraction. So the king was incredulous. He said, no, how is that possible? The time of death, and inflicted with so many problems and difficulties and hell. He says, no. So he said, okay, no problem. You wait out and see. So he found out one minister, highly posted minister, who was about to die, and he sent word to the king, come quickly to this minister's house and bring your beautiful daughter with you. Right, because Akbar had one daughter who was so beautiful. She was the daughter of one of his Hindu wives. Most beautiful girl in the kingdom. He said, bring her. So king was a little said, why am I bringing my daughter to the deathbed? He said, no, bring her. You wanted to understand something. So the king, he enters the room. And before entering the room, Birbal told the king, watch the man's eyes. When the king enters the room, just like if, Prabhupada entered the room or any guru, you immediately pay your obeisances. You recognize them first. Doesn't matter how many disciples, female disciples are there. You pay your respects to the spiritual master. Your focus is on him. So Birbal said, no, watch this guy's eyes. So as soon as the king came in with his daughter, side by side, he saw that this man, even though this guy's on his deathbed, his eyes immediately went to the beautiful daughter of the king. Didn't even see the king. King was just a wallflower, decoration at that point. At the time of death, so you understand, yam yam vapi smaram bhavam, yajante. What's he going to be in his next life? It's going to be a woman. So a very unfortunate situation that if we're not trained, so at the time of death we're seeing the beautiful face of Radha Govinda, or Radha Shyam Sundar, or Radha Madhava, or all your deities, whoever you're worshiping, Gaur Nitai. You have to. Otherwise you'll, again, punaschavata chavanam, again into the pool. Just like here. Let's read this translation, and then we can ask if there's any more questions. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy called Deva Maya at once captures the newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death, begins. Immediately. Just like Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga began 5,000 years ago. It's not that when winter comes with everything concomitant. It's there. Same as summer. It's cold. All right? But somehow or other, we're in Kali Yuga, but we're not in Kali Yuga. This is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. The golden age of Kali Yuga. Only the golden avatar could do this. Someone wants to know, how is Lord Chaitanya God? You say, who else could hold back the effects of Kali Yuga? How else could this movement have spread like this? How could one person coming from, Vrindavan, penniless mendicant, how was he able to spread this? Because The potency of Lord Chaitanya was with him every step of the way. That's why. You know, in the Catholic Church, you only have to do 2 miracles before you become a saint. It's like, you know, somebody prayed to this guy and they became cured, and all of a sudden, now he's eligible to be canonized. He was a 16-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy. It's like, you know, what are they thinking? Such a low threshold for sainthood. So here's, Prabhupada said, what is your miracle? Prabhupada looked at the disciples around and said, this is my miracle. This is my miracle. People want some vibhuti. Even Loki can make some vibhuti. But this is not mystic power. There's nothing. Manipulation of the material elements is not mystic power. That's a small yogic siddhi. Nothing. But to convert millions of individuals in Kali Yuga, where Kalo Sudra Sambhava, everyone is born a Sudra, that's a miracle. And this miracle is still going on. And we have the opportunity to take part in this miracle. And that itself is a miracle. So we have to hold on to this miracle, you know, for all we have. Just like when you're drowning in the ocean, you have to hold on to that piece of driftwood or that life preserver. So you have to hold on to this for dear life. You can't let go. As soon as you let go, you drown. So big day, Ekadasi, Sunday feast, lots to do. Temple needs to be cleaned. Everyone needs to take a little care and attention. Don't think that, okay, you know, I'm just a visitor here. I don't have to do anything. No. The temple is a place for service. It's not a place to visit. You come to a temple for service. And everything is here for your assured advancement in spiritual life. In different places, there's different benefits, actually. One can feel the difference about service here or service there. Not that there's a difference in the spiritual, but somehow or other one is affected in such a way where the energy and that concentration is due to the association of devotees. So that's why you saw, you know, when there's one person in the temple, it's not very enlivening. When there's 50 devotees together, that's ecstasy. That's, you know, Srivas Anga ecstasy. You know, because you get immediately transported to that transcendental realm where that kirtan, because that's what kirtan is. Kirtan is the spirit. What did Prabhupada tell Achyutananda? He said, kirtan is the safest platform. But this kirtan is not kirtan just for because I want to show off my musical skills. This kirtan is for the pleasure of the Lord. And that's where the ecstasy comes. When the devotees are trying to please Krishna by humble offering. When somebody's simply sitting around trying to make, hey, is the mic on? Am I getting recorded properly? Someone do a sound check. I got to post this to my Instagram. That's not kirtan. Self-adulation. So we should avoid these things at all costs. We should not be so keen to make sure that somehow or other I'm recognized as a big, big devotee or a big, big kirtani or a big anything. Prabhupada said we're not big. We're just small parts of Krishna. And so if kirtan is the safest platform, then that humble attitude of rendering service, because kirtan is a lot of different things. You know, kirtan is not just congregational chanting of the holy name. It's also whatever is involved in enabling that kirtan. That's also kirtan. Kirtan doesn't go on if somebody's not cooking, if somebody's not cleaning, if somebody's not, you know, making sure that all the arrangements are proper. Then, so everything is there. So let's go take care of everything. Get ready for the guests. Rath Yatra is in 6 more days. 6 more days, the biggest festival. Who can imagine how much work? But this work is ecstasy. So you have to invest your enthusiasm into it in order to harvest that feeling. It doesn't come. What do they say? You know, you only get out as much as what you put in. So the more you put in, the more you'll get out. Any other questions? Akadasi breakfast is waiting. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Govinda Dev ki. Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki. Hari Bol. All glories to all the assembled devotees.